and welcome to the Law of Positivism podcast. I'm your host, Shireen, and I'm the creator of Law of Positivism. I'm here to help you on your spiritual and healing journey. I am a certified yoga and meditation teacher, a student of Chinese medicine, a doula, a Reiki practitioner, and a passionate, highly sensitive person. I want to use my knowledge to channel information and messages for you to grow on all levels. Hi, and welcome to the 6th episode of the podcast. I'm so honored and grateful that you're here and that you're sharing your energy, time, and love in this podcast with me. I'm super excited about this episode. I had the beautiful Jedaya Barboza here today as a guest. She's a Venusian Rose Womb Priestess of the Divine Feminine, and she's in full service and devotion to the goddess and to the awakening of the wild and ancient parts of you. And she shares her path into this work and how she got into it. And we have so many juicy topics today. We talk about Venus in astrology and the goddess Venus and how it relates to us. And we talk about walking the path of the Divine Feminine and about the healing and powerful and rich energy of the rose and the Rose Lineage. And we tap into Mary Magdalene and so much more. So I really hope that this can shed some more guidance and light into your life. Jedaya provides different mentorships. She does work both online and live with workshops and retreats. So I'll put all the links to her in the show notes. And I just hope that you enjoy this episode and that you can provide some feedback if you have any thoughts about the topics or any questions. So just enjoy this episode. Hi, Jedaya.
Hello, sister.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me onto this juicy platform.
I love it. I love your work. I'm so happy that you're here and that you are sharing with the world everything that you do. It's so amazing. We connected through Instagram, and I've been just so touched by your work, and I just wanted to have you on to let the listeners hear you and your mission and what you do. So I'm super happy and grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much, beloved. I'm so honored. What a reflection you are.
Thank you so much. And I just want to start by asking you how you stay mindful and present.
I feel that I am a very sensual and alive person, and we have the full moon in Taurus right now.
Yeah.
And Taurus is a goddess of Venus, and she is always heightened by her senses, so touch, taste, smell. It's all like very heightened for her. And so I feel the Taurus like within my moon and my rising. And so whatever I do, whether it's dancing or singing or being out in nature, barefoot, like walking in the grass or howling at the moon, there's this divine feminine essence that weaves through our bodies, no matter if we're female or male. And it's this state of flow, this state of constantly like moving back and forth like water and being here, being presently here, and being like drifted away, swept away. So I always give in to that flow state. And I travel back and forth between the spiritual realm and the material realm quite often. So I feel that it's just activated within me. I don't really have a lot of time to practice like yoga or to like meditate. But I feel that we all have this like innate meditation where it just comes to us without even thinking about it. And that's when I also call that like the sacred pause, when, we're not thinking of anything. We're just absolutely presently here.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. And you're so right, because it is like innate within us. And yoga
Yeah.
and meditation are practices and
Yeah.
tools. And then
Yeah.
we should actually be able to be in that state more naturally. But it's how we live and how
Yeah.
society looks. That's why it's like that right now. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful that you can, and I can definitely agree regarding the traveling between these two states, because and it's so obvious. It can change from one day to another, and you can
Yeah.
feel very grounded, and then you start moving upwards, and just like finding the balance, which is
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I think this full moon really represents that, and it's so amazing that we're having the conversation today, because this has been very powerful. It's already getting dark here in
Yeah.
Sweden. It's very dark outside, although it's 4 p.m. So we're definitely having the dark period right now. We barely see the sun, but it's really mystical and beautiful. So yeah, thank
Mm.
you so much for sharing. And I would love for you to also tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you do and the work you do. It's so beautiful, and yeah, I'm so excited for you to share.
Thank you. So, my name is Jedaya Barboza, and I am a Shemite priestess of the Rose Lineage. And I work with women and also with men and how to reclaim our divine feminine power, our essence, and to live erotically alive and sensually alive. And I do that within the teachings of the Rose and the teachings also of Venus. And so we may know a little bit about Venus, who was a Roman goddess, and the Greek goddess, who is kind of like a mirror to the Roman goddess. She is Aphrodite. She was also my first love. And, the goddesses of love, they come in many different, skin colors, and they have many different names. There's Oshun, who is, an African goddess, and there's Lakshmi, who's a Hindu goddess, and they all represent the goddess of love energy. And they all come from Venus too. And so with them, they come with principles for me more than characteristics. And those principles are of truth and beauty and unconditional love and sensuality, justice, harmony, alignment, spirituality, and all of those lovely things. And I really like being on this path of the rose and walking the footsteps of the goddess of love. I have been in many circumstances, on this journey, having human experiences, but also divine experiences. And sometimes these experiences take us out of the heart chakra. And sometimes we are pained, and sometimes we are hurt by these experiences that we have in love. And so we use the teachings of the rose and the goddess of love frequency to bring us back to the heart center and to find the power and the magic and the divinity and the things that have hurt us. So I always see the blessings within the thorns, of the rose. So that's a little bit about what I do. I take women on, journeys, like vision quests within the rose.
Wow. And do you do sessions online or just in person? Like, how do you work with that?
So I kind of like how I was talking about, about the mindfulness and the practice of the flow state. I find myself in the city right now, and I have dedicated my life to this language and this understanding that no matter where I go, I carry these codes with me. And, you know, random people come to me every day in the city and they start like pouring their like heart out to me, talking about their life.
Mm.
And that's one of the best opportunities to talk about, you know, the teachings of the rose with, you know, random people in the city.
Mm.
But I also have cultivated a safe space online
Mm.
where women find me and we have sessions online through Zoom. So I get to see their beautiful face and they get to see mine.
Mm.
And yeah, I really love working online, but I really love working in person, like randomly, like it
Mm.
just happens like synchronistically.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And now with this opportunity like Instagram and YouTube and
Yeah,
all other techniques, it's really, really powerful to share on a broader
it
scale
is.
and to connect with people you wouldn't just bump into as well.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really interested in the teachings of the rose and this lineage. I think many people might not know so much about it if you have the background and how you connected with that.
Yeah, well, I grew up Christian,
Mm.
so my parents were very religious. I was Catholic, and then I was also non-denominational. Um, and I we have stories in the Bible, and you know, the people that I connected with in the Bible were, of course, Yeshua, the beloved, Jesus Christ,
Mm.
who was a part of the Rose lineage, and his mother, Mother Mary, the Black Madonna, and Yeshua's beloved, Miriam, Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, and his grandmother, Anna, I believe. They're all a part of the Rose lineage, and the Rose lineage stems back to ancient Africa and also Israel, and ancient Kemet, which is also known as Egypt.
Mm.
And a lot of what Christianity comes from is from the Egyptian mysteries, the temples of Egypt. And so Christ's story of resurrection is kind of very similar to the resurrection of Osiris, where
Yeah.
Isis resurrects her beloved and he
Mm.
becomes the, you know, the lord of the other world or
Mm.
the underworld. And he, you know, kind of is the guardian for people who are crossing over to the afterlife. And so the teachings of the rose, the lineage of the rose, stems all the way back to Isis's lineage and the temple priestesses that would gather in the temples of Isis. And you can even go all the way back to, you know, the ancient um, cities of Atlantis or Lemuria. You know, these are very mystical places that once um, existed and still exist on this earth plane. And yeah, there has been since the beginning of us, since the beginning of humans or beings of any kind, we have had the teachings of the rose.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful symbolism. I mean, if you want to get into more about the rose and like the flower,
Yeah.
how it connects with everything.
Oh my God. So just like I have a rose in my hand right now,
Mm.
and whenever I meditate on this beautiful being, I am brought first to her masculine presence, which is her stem. And here she has thorns on her stem. And if you touch it, it's a little painful. It's thorny and it pricks you, and you could possibly bleed, you know, depending on how hard you are pressing into her thorn. And when I'm here in this space with her, I feel, you know, the struggle of life. I feel the protection that she has, and the protection of her love, of her beauty, her boundaries, even. And this is what makes the Divine Feminine so precious. You know, she knows her beautiful, sensual, playful energy has to be protected. Or, you know, if without these boundaries, you know, something could possibly like take her power away from her. And so she has these beautiful boundaries that she puts up. Um, and she finds the blessings within those boundaries and within her protection, within her thorns. And she is able to rise fully as a sovereign rose empress, the queen of all flowers. So everything in life emits a frequency. And, you know, from humans to even the grass, like we all have this frequency, and frequency is measured in light and in sound. And the rose, her frequency, she emits between a 328 megahertz frequency to a 528 megahertz frequency. And so her frequency is like divine. It's so beyond divine. And like I just imagine her like singing this precious song, and like she is just like traveling from the root all the way up like to her crown chakra, and is in this like angelic seventh plane state of meditation, and nothing can bring her out of that. Like she is constantly in that state of vibration. And here she is with her thorns and all, and, you know, her full blossom, and she's, you know, vibrating at this frequency. And for us human beings, we vibrate at a 62 to a 78 megahertz frequency. And this depends on like what we're putting into our bodies. So that could be our thoughts, which are also can be measured in megahertz frequencies. So if we're thinking negative thoughts, our frequencies go down. If we're thinking positive thoughts, our frequencies rise. If we're drinking like coffee every day, which has, you know, a low vibrational frequency, or if we're drinking water every day, our frequencies either lower or they heighten. Organic foods, if we're eating lots of like candies or foods that have been genetically modified or made in a lab compared to foods that have grown from the earth, you know, these everything has a frequency. So no matter what we're putting into our body, it's either, you know, our frequencies are going down or they're rising. And so, you know, I think of us as like trying to achieve to be the empress of all flowers here on earth while we're here. And, you know, our excellence, like our example that we have, our model that we have here on earth is the empress of all flowers, that which is the rose. And, you know, Venus is also very connected to that beautiful rose because she dances from our perspective, like an earth's perspective. She has this beautiful sensual dance with the earth, like every 8-year rhythm, and she forms this geometrical pattern in the sky that's like a 5-petaled rose, and it's just so beautiful. Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah.
It's so beautiful. I want to learn more about the rose, and I wonder also how do you use the rose to heal, and like, do you use it physically as well, like the
I
rose
do.
petals? Yeah.
I do. So a few things that I do. I love taking baths. For me, that is like a time to just like really come back into center, and it's a beautiful meditation as well. I work with a lot of herbs, and the rose is one of my favorites to use in my bath. And yeah, I just like whenever I'm taking a bath and there's like lots of roses in the water, I feel like she kind of like becomes me. Like I become her and we're just like one. Like we are in like the perfect alchemy with like water and like yeah, it's just so amazing. She absorbs into my skin, and sometimes I'm just like there in my bath crying and talking to her, and we're just in this communion, and it's just amazing. I also take the rose internally, so I love to make rose tea. I love making rose tinctures, and you can also smoke the flower, the rose flower. You can like make a beautiful blend of lavender, chamomile, damiana, which is an aphrodisiac, which will leave you like feeling very sensual and like touchy-feely, and roses. And I also meditate with her a lot. So I would just like eye gaze with her while holding her. But one of my most favorite practices is helping her to grow in rich soil. So if you have a garden, plant some roses. The bees, they don't really like to take her nectar. She doesn't really form a nectar for bees to have, but the bees really love roses. Like roses and bees just get along like very well. So you'll attract bees into your garden if you grow some roses.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. So much we can do with the plants and
Yeah.
herbs and everything. So that's
Yeah.
really a great way of looking at, because when we see a rose, we don't immediately think that we're gonna use it to just
Right.
look at it. But
Yeah.
it is very enchanting, and that's why it's like a very expensive plant, and it's
It is.
very, very, like, people just love roses. So there is
Yeah.
a deep love, because there's so many other types of flowers that are also very beautiful, but roses seems to always like be more in the center of
Yes.
focus.
Yeah, they are. There,
Wow.
yeah, there's also rose oil is pretty
Yeah.
expensive, but I really love using rose oil to anoint myself. And one of the first places that I always go to, like intuitively, is my heart center, and will anoint the rose oil like on my heart center, and usually like on my lips and on my third eye as well. And you can, if you have rose oil, just always like intuitively go wherever your body is calling for you to go and to anoint. You may be having trouble feeling safe to love again after a heartbreak, or you are grieving at a time where you've lost a loved one, and you can always use rose oil to anoint those areas to bring back love and acceptance. And yeah.
And is that essential oil, or is it an oil that is blended with actual rose?
Yeah, you can definitely find essential oils like at a health food store like Whole Foods or Co-op. Or you can find blended oils as well. I definitely have seen blended oils like Damiana and rose oil together, or cardamom and rose oil. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's a
And
good
it smells
good
so
thing.
good.
Yeah, it does. And it's really good for the skin. I've
It
used
is.
like oil on the skin as well. So
Yeah.
it's really nice. And the connection between the rose. So when Mary Magdalene is depicted, it's usually like the color red and the roses. So is she also more connected to this lineage, or
Mm.
how do you see that?
Yeah, when I feel into the Magdalene, um, who is a priestess of the red rose, um, I feel into my menstrual cycle, actually. She, you know, gives us power. Like she helps us to activate our voice chakra, our throat chakra. So women who have, felt the witch wound usually have trouble coming out of the closet of out of the broom closet, so they say. And because they have this witch wound of, being burned, or, some past life trauma that has happened to the witches, the empowered woman. And so she gives us power back, like she reminds us that we don't have to fear anything in this lifetime, and that we can activate our voices, and we can, stand up for a cause. And she brings this like lioness energy to that area a lot. So we can access like our feminine rage, and to actually finally put that to rest, and to rise into our divine feminine energy and bring balance and harmony back into the earth grids. And she also is the priestess of the womb. So the womb, the uterus, and our menstrual cycle. Women, I feel, that bleed, that have, the reproductive organs, when we start to become more aware of our 4 phases of our cycle, and are able to track and to understand what phase we're in, we bring more power to us. So we are able to communicate, to our loved ones, to our coworkers or our boss, what state we're in. So for an example, there's a full moon, and usually there's a lot of women bleeders who bleed with the full moon, or with the new moon, or in between. And so I bleed with the full moon. And for me, like, that is being very extroverted, very nurturing. And like, I'm like project driven right now in this time within my cycle. And around the new moon, I get very introverted, inward, and I'm activating this like sensitive, shamanistic, like woman, like crone woman energy around this time. And usually when women are bleeding with the new moon, they turn inward as well. And it's like our winter phase. So we don't have a lot of energy during this phase. And we turn inward to become self-reflective of, what's going on in our lives, and what do we wish to see change. So we're kind of like planning, but we're making more like intentions more than we're planning. So Mary Magdalene is a guide and a priestess and a facilitator of the blood mysteries. And she brings women to the red tent. Usually a lot of women that find the red tent, which is a gathering space, a safe space for women bleeders to circle with other women and to sing songs, to dance, to talk about their stories of their own feminine journey, to cry, to howl at the moon, and be the wild woman that they are, and to honor their womanness, the codes of the woman, the mysteries of the woman, and to celebrate that. Yes.
Yeah, it's so much. I'm so inspired, and I want to share some things regarding Mary Magdalene as well. It's so beautiful, everything that you've shared, and it resonates so much. And
Yeah.
I feel like in my heart space that it's just so warm and energized right now. And yeah, it is a really, it's like she comes to you in a certain time in your life,
Yeah,
where you need to have that initiation. So I felt very called last year to go to Glastonbury in England, and there's a Mary Magdalene church there, and the days I chose was actually one of those days that I was there was the Mary Magdalene feast day. You call that, right?
Mm,
It's
yeah.
so she's celebrated as a saint, and that was just coincidental, and but it was a very powerful experience to be there, because it's so energetically like just so amazing. And
Yeah.
that place in Somerset in England, and then after that, I think I've connected with this beautiful artist in Australia that makes these beautiful depictions of hers. Like, things have just come up around me with her. And it's so beautiful. And then I went to this workshop weekend out in the woods here in Sweden, and we practiced our psychic abilities, and we were going to do a meditation that was going to connect us to a guide or something, and it could be different things or people or beings for everyone. So we were just going to go inward and start to see something. And it's happened to me before, and in shamanic drum circles I've connected
Mm.
to Ishtar, which comes from
Ooh.
my or where my physical roots are in the Middle East. And but in this meditation, I was I think we visualized that we were on a beach, and then I just saw a being walking towards me from far, and I couldn't really see, but it was like the person had really beautiful, like ancient, like a cloak, and like really beautiful. And when this person comes closer, this being, I see that it is Yeshua, which is
Mm.
really interesting. I didn't grow up in like a very spiritual family, but not like I never read these texts or was connected to one religion. But I saw him, and then as he walked closer, the shape turned into his mother, so Mother
Wow.
Mary. And when this being came closer, the being was Mary Magdalene in the end, and and holding a beautiful, like, bowl of water or something, and pouring it over
Mm.
me. And since then, like, every time um, I tune out a yoga class and bow down to my students, she comes up, and I have to thank her because she has guided me
Mm.
through the class, I believe. So I feel that connection with her, and yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And it's just the consciousness is opening up again and awakening and remembering, I feel. And that's so beautiful that this consciousness is waking up within so
Yeah.
many people. That's how we share it and remember it together.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's really,
yeah.
really
Oh.
beautiful. Ah, it's just love. So it's just so, yeah, it warms the
It's
heart and
so, it
everything.
does. It does.
Mm.
Yeah. And I have visions of, Mary Magdalene with all sisters, like in a circle, and she's just like, coming up to each and every one of us and placing her hands on our heart and on our womb spaces. And, water is like the energy of water is like coming and pouring out of her hands and
Mm.
entering into us from the heart space and from the womb space. And here
Mm.
is where she activates us into, the priestess lineage, the rose lineage, and of the myrrh, like priestess of the myrrh, of the waters, and of the moon.
Mm.
And like us sisters are all connected. Like we're all interwoven, and it's so juicy and so
Mm.
sweet whenever you come across a sister who has been touched by the Magdalene from the womb and from the heart space, and you could just feel that Magdalene energy within her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we connect, probably,
Yeah.
to each other in totally different continents and everything. And it's, yeah, this sisterhood is so important, and that's one of my, yeah, it's been these past years, insight and epiphany that this is the calling, and that is what is important, and so powerful. And everything that you talked about with the cycles and the moon, and just having that awareness and taking back that power, and using it for something good in the world. That's
Something
the healing.
beautiful. Yes, I agree, sister.
Yeah, so exciting. I'm so happy. And today we have this full moon. I don't know about you, but this past week it's been crazy. It's yesterday we had the 11:11 portal and activation, and I think like my senses have heightened so much the past few days. It's been a lot of like vibrations and frequencies that I hear with my physical ears, that it's just, I'm just surrounded. So and we have this, actually my moon is in Taurus. I'm a Cancer sun
Oh
and
my
moon in
goddess.
Taurus.
My moon is in Taurus too,
Oh.
love.
And it's so, and that's why we can feel this. And I mean,
Yeah.
really felt it these past days with like the dreams I have. I think 2 days ago I dreamt that I was like flying over a big city, like I think New York or something, but the water was so blue and clear, like in the Caribbeans. And then I just see this huge horse that is as high as the, the big skyscrapers, and just walking walking around there. So it's been really like it's not from this world, it's something else. And this night I also could feel it's like all the water within the body is like bubbling up right now.
I love that feeling.
And I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything, but I have to do stuff. But it's like finding that pause in between. And it's so beautiful. And I want you to share, because you are, I don't know if how you work with the Venus energy, but you are priestess of Venus as well, right?
Yes.
So if you want to talk more about that, and how, I mean, Venus is the ruler of Libra and Taurus.
Yeah,
So this is like the perfect day to talk about this.
Oh my goddess. Oh my goddess. So in astrology, we have, I want to say, two feminine aspects to look at in our natal chart, and that's the moon and that's Venus. We also have like Lilith too, who's a feminine aspect, and she actually has like this dark side to the moon. So Venus reminds me of the heart center. So how do we love? What do we love? What are we attracted to? And what is the dark side of that aspect? Like, how do we love in our shadow? How do we love in all of the sins, like the sins and the virtues of the heart space, basically? And so Venus is a ruler of both Taurus and Libra. And so she has like a sun and a moon, basically. She has this feminine aspect of her, and then she has a masculine aspect of her. So she is in this beautiful dance of the temple of the sun and the moon. And she's like very well balanced, just as the rose is, because the rose has the masculine part, which is the stem, and then the feminine part, which is the flower on top. And so Taurus being Venus's feminine aspect, Taurus is like the Aphrodite who reincarnates on the earth to be human. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have this body? And how can I be human in this body, having a fully human and fully divine experience here on earth? And how can I be playful in this energy? She is like the Garden of Eden. And in the Garden of Eden, she's in nature, she's naked, she's like rolling around in the grass. And this is how she expresses herself sensually. She's like very comfortable in her body. So she's embodied. And I see her like flirting with the trees, and like flirting with the water. She's like dancing and like in the water's naked and singing songs. And she's like very here on this earth. And when she eats as if she's making love to that fruit or to that food. And so all of her senses are heightened, and the way that she expresses her sensory like overload is through her sexuality, through her sacral chakra. And she is a fixed sign. So, you know, to me, this is like she has a certain way to her where she has to feel like alive, like in her body, and erotically alive at that, like passionately alive. And when we understand what makes us feel alive, like we become so fixed in that. So for Tauruses, that could be sex, that could be, you know, food, that could be, you know, nature. And we become very fixed in that. And sometimes it's hard to like break the spell because we know what works for us. We know, you know, what can bring us pleasure. And so when I think of goddesses that stand for Taurus or that embody Taurus, one goddess that comes to mind is Hathor, who is an Egyptian goddess and who wears the bull, like she is the bull. And she honors animals, and she is like the womb, like she embodies Mama Gaia so much that she is the womb, and there is light in her womb, and the light in her womb is Ra, and Ra is the sun god. So she is the birther of like that energy of the sacral, of the yang, of the masculine, but she is also the feminine as well. So she is like in perfect marriage with the masculine, with the feminine. And there is Libra, who is the masculine aspect of Venus, and Libra, which is my sun sign.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Double Venus.
Right?
And your ascendant?
Is Taurus as well.
Oh,
I
so
know.
you're triple.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Yeah. So you have so much Venus
So
in
much
you.
Venus, oh my
Yeah.
goddess. So Libra is the queen of the scales. She is the guardian of the heart and also of, you know, the feather, which when I think of Libra, I think of Ma'at, who is the Egyptian goddess, but she is also the principle of truth, of beauty, of harmony, of partnerships, of contracts, law, order. And yeah, so Ma'at holds the scales, and on one end of the scale there is a heart, and on the other end of the scale there is Ma'at's feather, which is the symbol of truth. And the heart and the feather must balance out together. So the heart must not be lighter than the feather. The heart must weigh, you know, the same exact as the weight of the feather. And she is masculine in a way where she is defendant, like on anything that she defends, like like she defends and protects what is sacred and what is right always. So if there's like any injustice, it must be dealt with right away. But I feel that you know, she takes a while to make up her mind about it because she has to do it where beauty is brought and harmony is brought in the mix. So if there is any injustice, it must not be met with anything out of beauty, anything out of harmony. And she is much like Taurus in a way where, you know, she's very sensual and very playful, but I think of her as like the celestial of the you know, ethereal goddess of love. So she's like very in her mind, and is very analytical, very much like a Virgo, and kind of brings you like deep down into the depths of Scorpio. Like she's in between those energies of Virgo and Scorpio. And, you know, partnerships and friendships, they mean a lot to the Libra. So how can we all come together and heal in love? And how can we bring balance and harmony into our relationships? And, you know, when I think of relationships, I see and feel that we're all in a relationship with each other. And how can we, you know, harmonize with each other and come to a place of understanding with each other and full acceptance of each other. And, you know, finding love in every moment, no matter if the dark comes out or if it's light. So the shadows, the things that we may see as negative or as toxic even, how can we bring love to those aspects, and find the beauty in that? So like for so many of us who have walked on this spiritual journey for a very long time now, I find that there is like a generation of us who came in at a time where it's all love and all light, and we kind of like put the shadow side of us like on the back burner and try not to look at that or try not to heal that. It's all love, it's all light, and we kind of ignore the darkness. But Libra holds the scales, you know, so she is able to see like both sides, and she is able to honor and celebrate both sides. And, you know, when I think of the dark and the light, I think of just the feminine and masculine aspects. And I think of the sun and the moon a lot, and how the moon shines in the darkness, and she, you know, is able to make flowers grow in the darkness. So there's this beauty in the darkness. And yeah, when we heal that, we are able to rise in our full divinity, you know, darkness into light.
Yeah, so true. And it's like just living up here in the north, we have a lot of months of darkness. I mean, it's literally like night outside now, and it's not even 5 p.m. And what I hear and what I've experienced myself is that during this time, yes, because of lack of sun and things like that, okay, we're taking D vitamin supplements just to not have that deficiency. But besides that, like the physiological, people tend to feel like they go inwards more at this time, but also feel negative emotions, and then we're attributing it to the darkness. But really, the darkness allows us to go within and to deal with those things that we maybe during the summer, like the brighter months, maybe where you grew up is the same, right?
Yes,
you also have like dark and cold, like it's snowing outside right now here. So it's the same type of climate, and we really have the seasons very clear seasons, like the winter, the fall. So just like when we enter the Scorpio season now, it's really reflected in nature. And and it is very intense, and but it's so important too, because that's just an important aspect of living this life and living in this dimension.
And it's fall here. So it's autumn, and you can see Scorpio like everywhere, like the trees, some are already like barely naked, you know, and there are other trees that have not fully let go of their leaves yet, but the leaves, they change colors from yellow to orange to red to brown, and they're all in this process of shedding, of letting go, of dying, to be reborn again when the sun comes back to play with us. And so, like, yeah, I see Scorpio all around. It's very intense, but there's also this beauty within Scorpio that, you know, we're able to go within and to look at our darkness and to make love to that, to make love to all the things within us that we don't find beautiful, because society says that it's not beautiful, but how can we see it as beautiful, you know? And how can we come into full harmony with ourselves and rise into our Rose Empress Majesty with our darkness, with our thorns, with our hurt, and, you know, vibrate at a 728 megahertz frequency. You know?
Yeah, so beautiful. And yeah, how, so the work you do, if you want to share like what you're working on right now and how people can work with you as well with
Yeah.
what everything that you do.
So right now I offer one-on-one sessions of the Venusian Rose Womb activations. And so within, those are 4 sessions that I do. And yeah, we go from like the temples of the rose and learning about the rose lineage more in depth, to the menstrual cycle, learning about the menstrual cycle. And if you're a man, this is like perfect, because if you have a beloved, you get to understand her cycle and, you know, journey with her in her phases and understand her, where she's coming from, what she may need during her cycles. It's amazing. To be, you know, a brother of the rose supporting your beloved rose. And we talk about sacred sexuality. We talk about tantra and hydroscamos. And we also practice different tools, different spiritual tools, and meditations and asanas and mantras and affirmations that stem all the way back to ancient Egyptian practices and tools. So we practice that within the Venusian Rose Womb activations. We yoni steam together. We cry together. We laugh together. And we just dive deep into these mysteries of the Magdalene, of Venus, and the Rose. And so I offer one-on-one sessions of that. And I also have a longer journey of that, which is the Magdalene Rose Womb 6-month mentorship. And right now I am reading all of the applications that have been sent to me, and am so excited for 2020, for when these when this journey happens with, you know, the new women that are coming to me and wanting to explore and go on this vision quest of the Magdalene and of Venus and of the Rose Mysteries. And it's also like, it's what I'm passionate about. And what I feel I've signed up for in my past lives, some vow that I made to just remember and to go through, you know, the fires of transformation to get here now, to just be a guide for other sisters that feel the call to be a leader and to be a priestess of these mysteries and to guide other women, you know, on their journey with them. Yeah.
That's so beautiful and such a beautiful mission, and so much. Yeah, it's a blessing to the world. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Beauty.
I'm so happy that we connected. I'm gonna share your links in the show notes as well. So if anyone wants to connect with you, and you are also on Instagram.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, and you have YouTube channel as well.
I
So
do, yeah.
that's also a beautiful way to connect with you and see you talk, and also on Instagram. So thank you so much. I feel so blessed to have you here on the show, and I'm just excited to follow you on your path and to see how we connect again the next time.
Oh yes, love. I'm so honored to be connected with you.
Thank you so much. I'm sending you so much blessings.
So much love, sister. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it brought so much abundance and love and light to you as it did to me. I'm so grateful for Jedaya's energy and uplifting soul. And I would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions. So you can either connect with me on Instagram at Law of Positivism. And if you do, just share a rating and a review on iTunes. I can pull an oracle card for you if you screenshot your review. And if you share it with others, that would make me so happy, so more people can find the podcast. So let's breathe in together, in through the nose, and exhale through the mouth. And enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.